Back here once again with Ryan Reynolds. Ryan, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
A lot of ways you could promote your Deadpool and Wolverine movie to involve us in it, and come on TCM means a lot. Thank you.
TCM and Deadpool are my motherships, so happy to be back.
And I don't know, there's probably some TCM fans who, they shy away from things like Deadpool, but if you enjoy laughing and storytelling, then both the Deadpool movies are worth seeing. I couldn't have enjoyed them more.
I'm immensely proud of them, and thank you.
Well, you should be. So the second film you picked, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which we just saw, but now coming up a decade later from 1997, this is John Cusack, Minnie Driver, Dan Aykroyd, and Joan Cusack in Grosse Pointe Blank. First of all, I'm glad you picked this because, I saw it and loved it when it came out, and I was suddenly, as I was watching it again, I'm like, I'm not sure I've seen this in 20, 25 years.
It's a fairly overlooked gem. Grosse Pointe Blank in particular does something that is very difficult in film to do, which is it really blends a number of different genres into one film. I mean, it's action, it's comedy, it's romance, it's drama, and they just did it, I thought, beautifully. And one of the great things that I think Cusack shows us in that film is how those stories we tell ourselves to make sure that we are the hero in our own narrative are illusions that sort of break down as we superimpose them over our actual life and the things that actually matter and the things that we're running from. And the movie does a great job of kind of taking what started as maybe high school ennui and freaking out, what this character kind of freaks out and runs away from everything. And then when he comes back, he's really forced to kind of confront it and let that illusion sort of dissolve. And I think it's beautifully done. Yeah,
a hitman going back for his 10th year high school reunion. I mean, that's the beginning. Right.
If I'm a studio executive, I'm like, done. When do we start?
I'm already interested. Yeah, right. Yeah. And so the violence around the hitman part of it, it's not that important. It's all just as a means to tell his story and put that character under stress.
Classic movie maneuver. I mean, that part of it is just the sort of gateway drug into the movie. Yeah. And then lots of drug references coming up every once in a while, just like, but yeah, they just do that so beautifully. And then also, speaking of drugs, nostalgia. Probably one of the greatest lab-grade narcotics on earth. Nostalgia is a beautiful thing, and I think high school reunions and
nostalgia is this incredibly powerful emotion that connects you to your own history and your family's history.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. Even some of our worst memories can sometimes be, but some of that trauma and difficulty can be paved over with nostalgia. And Grosse Pointe Blank does that so beautiful. It's also one of the finest Dan Aykroyd performances you will ever see. He is so weird and eccentric.
Easy there, Chief.
I love it. I can't get enough of it. And just how cool Minnie Driver is in this movie.
I mean, she's by far and away the most normal person in the movie, if you're looking for that. Yeah. But she's super interesting.
Yeah, right? And as soon as you see those two together and the chemistry that they have, you immediately buy in. You go, oh, I see why he has been haunted by this woman and has never been able to kind of reconcile his issues. And of course, Alan Arkin.
Don't kill anybody for a few days. See what it feels like.
I'll give it a shot.
No, don't give it a shot. Don't shoot anything.
The late, great Alan Arkin in one of the best, most interesting, funny performances you will ever see is Martin Blank's reluctant therapist.
Reluctant, terrified.
I mean, terrified. Yeah. And Martin would then, is basically holding this guy hostage for therapy, and Alan Arkin's character keeps saying, I don't want to be a part of it. And then he would sit. Martin Blank says something vaguely threatening, and Arkin is like, that wasn't designed to make me feel good, Martin. Look, Marty, the way he sort of speaks, and I'm doing my bad impression, but I love Alan Arkin.
Keep it up. Don't kill anybody.
Right.
Grosse Pointe Blank, in many ways, doesn't get credit for influencing movies that have touched on some of those themes later.
Hitmen at a crisis point in their life is an incredibly compelling story.
Of course. Grosse Pointe Blank really kind of found that sweet spot, I think, and it's another movie that informs me in a lot of things that I do, and I love it.
All right, Ryan, we'll talk more after the movie. Here's the film from 1997, directed by George Armitage, with a story and a screenplay co-written by Tom Jankiewicz, John Cusack, Dan Aykroyd, Minnie Driver, Grosse Pointe Blank. Back with Ryan Reynolds. Ryan, thanks for being here. Thanks for programming these two films, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and the one we just saw, Grosse Pointe Blank. Ryan's new movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, out soon. So, Grosse Pointe Blank movie, you must have seen. You were no longer a teenager, but you were a young man in your early 20s.
Yeah. I was just kind of, coming into my. I guess probably the weirdest part, and I realize these are all uptown problems of working in show business in your kind of late adolescent, early adulthood. Is that you have no clue who you are. You just kind of. The greatest superpower I ever gained was just finally knowing and having some insight into who I am.
By the way, I'm not an actor, but it's exactly true for me too. Like I couldn't. When I was a news anchor, I used to think, I'm playing a news anchor. I'm going through the machinations of what I think a news anchor would say, and it's not. It feels inauthentic.
And I felt similarly at that age, and a lot of movies that I would do, or a lot of performances that I would give into varying degrees of quality for certain, were, I would try out personas. I wanted to be John Cusack that day. I was
going to say, you could see, you watch Grosse Pointe Blank, and it's like I could see it through, and in a sense, it doesn't surprise me after seeing it. I'm like, of course Ryan Reynolds.
I just found he was so seamless and kind of. I didn't feel the dialogue or the writing. It just kind of felt like a bunch of friends who made a movie together. And we talked about this.
In large part, it was. He and his two friends who then he worked on this. It was Tom Jankowicz's screenplay, but then they worked on it a little bit just to make it fit with
Steve Pink. I think all those guys were buddies at the time. And the way it kind of sprung out of the screen to me was something that I found endlessly inspiring. And I still, to this day, I watch that one 2 or 3 times a year, just because the overlaps and the way the sort of dialogue kind of crackles in the movie. I find it absolutely fascinating, and I see something different every time as well.
Cusack has this great ability in this film to be funny, to be charming in this authentic way in moments of great stress, right? Which is what we get out of Deadpool, and that's...
it's a guy who's like, I think they're both, sort of feeding off each other. I one of the things, at least in the pieces of the movies that I write, I'm sort of finding that guy who's in a highly militarized shame spiral, which is kind of what Martin Blank is in to a certain degree. He's paving over all of this pain with the wrong thing. And Deadpool certainly does it. Now, Deadpool being a little bit different because obviously his brain is a half-eaten ham sandwich. But John Cusack's character in this is just so quick and really expresses a beautiful love story. And both of the movies I've been lucky enough to program tonight are really, I chose them because they're in a certain sense two-handers. John Cusack, Minnie Driver, John Candy, Steve Martin. But they're both love stories, and I find that all the movies that really work for me in life, and that doesn't mean movies without love are bad movies, but the ones that really work for me are at their core about love. The movie I have coming up, Hugh Jackman and I have been friends for 17 years, and best buddies, and I adore and love this man, and I like that it's a love story between these two guys in that one. Cusack and Minnie Driver, now that's a romantic love story, but boy, do they sell that. They're just gorgeous together.
Ryan, this was awesome.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Open invitation to come back on TCM anytime.
Don't tempt me. I will.
Not only was Ryan Reynolds a guest programmer tonight, he's also the first guest curator at the new TCM Julian's auction. So thank you for that as well. Ryan's done for the night, but the movies aren't. They continue on TCM, and as always, they are uncut and commercial-free.
Next on TCM, Red Light. Then The French Lieutenant's Woman. And later, Saturday night and Sunday morning. Sleep over with TCM Tonight.